She sat there and she wrote, "I promise that you'll never find another like me, he, hoo, and said, "This is the first single. This is the big hit. This is my next Shake It Off." Hi Swifties, welcome back to my channel. I am the Taylor Swiftologist, and if you've never been here before, I'm a journalist by trade and Swiftie by choice, and in my free time, I like to take my organizational and analytical skills and apply them to dissecting the public persona of my favorite person, Taylor Swift. So, if that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so that you're notified whenever I put out a new video, and give this video a like and leave me a comment and let me know that you loved it. And if you didn't, don't be rude, don't leave a comment because I will block you. So, let's just get straight into it, shall we? Today, I'm going to be talking about songs that should have been singles. Now, this is a hotly debated topic in the Taylor Swift fandom because recently, as of late, Taylor has not been so good at choosing singles. And I used to think that she was really good at it. And then when I was doing my research and looking back on all of her single choices for this video, I realized that it's always been a little hit and miss. And I think that part of this is because she has such a large catalog and every album has, for the most part, so many good songs that it's hard to kind of narrow it down to 4 or 5 that represent the album best. I think that this is a good problem for her to have, right? That there's no possible way that 4 or 5 songs can explain the depth and the gravity and the severity of one entire record. But, there are some choices that she's made along the way that I have quibbles with. We all know, if you watch this channel at all, that I have one album that I would almost like to delete from existence, but I won't, and I will explain it fully in another video. I will get into it briefly today, but just know that my pulse is raising right now as I'm thinking about it. It just makes me upset, okay? What can I do about that? Nothing. If you like these kind of topical deep dives, might I suggest my podcast to you? It's called The Evolution of a Snake, and I host it with my friend Madeline, and we go through Taylor's career year by year in extreme detail and discuss kind of the pros and cons, the highs and lows, the good and bad of every single thing that Taylor has ever done, pretty much. Performances, tours, albums, boyfriends, friendships, it's all there. So if you're interested, that is linked below. But let's just get into what I think about Taylor's singles that should have been. So Taylor had a notable shift when she went pop in terms of selecting singles, whereas before, from debut to Speak Now, I would say, she tried to pick the tracks that showcased the most varied aspects of the album. So picking songs that showed the breadth and the depth of the record. I think that when she went pop, so from Red onwards, she was a little bit more concerned with chasing radio success. And listen, I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I love that she has hits. That obviously, her getting hits means that she makes more money and has a bigger budget and can do more things and has more creative control. She can go on to do projects like Folklore and Evermore and not have to worry about making that coin in the future, even though she does anyway. I think that at times it can be a little bit of a short-sighted strategy. And let me just say that there were many opportunities for good singles that she missed for some God knows what reason. And I would like to say that I am not a chart Swiftie, and I really hate that the new Swifties are obsessed with numbers and chart positions and all of that, because for me, the thing about Taylor has always been her storytelling. That is what I am drawn to. She is a complex character. She is an unreliable narrator. That's what I love about her. I don't really care that much about success, but when she takes a very obvious L, I want to correct that. And that's what this video is about. All of the L's that Taylor has taken that I could have corrected for her had she only just hired me to be on her marketing team. I also think that sometimes her single selection makes her not explain the record properly, and I have a couple of examples of this that will make sense as we go along, but I feel like critical misconceptions, like how professionals in the industry respond to tastes of her albums, and also how the general public perceives her as a cultural figure. All of these things could be addressed a little better if her front-facing, outward-facing persona, which is crafted through the release of her singles, music videos, and songs, if those front runners of the songs, the singles, these are the songs that get pushed to radio, that get music videos, that get promoted, if those songs were more carefully curated, we could avoid a lot of the missteps that we have taken so far. Let's go era by era and discuss what worked and what didn't work. So the debut era, I actually wouldn't change a thing about this baby. She is perfect just the way she is. There wasn't a whole breadth of material to select from here. There were a few very good songs and some just okay songs. I kind of look at this era in general as a practice run for what she went on to do and the success that she went on to have as she kind of developed and matured as an artist. I thought the progression of singles was really good for this album. Very smart idea to start with Tim McGraw. You know, he has that name recognition. She's breaking into the country music scene. It was kind of a weird thing for her to do. Definitely caused a lot of attention to be pulled towards her. Then she went into Teardrops on My Guitar, which, as we know, is, you know, a hallmark of her legacy. Then we went into Our Song. We had a little bit of an upbeat banger after 2 ballads. Then we had Picture to Burn, giving that little sassy side after the sweetness of Our Song. And Should Have Said No, kind of cementing her as this precocious, opinionated teenager, which was absolutely a persona that she rode along with for a long time, and in some ways still describes who she is to this day. So I thought the 5 singles was actually quite a lot for the debut. I mean, usually new artists don't get that many opportunities to create visuals and push songs to radio, but I guess she was Scott Borchetta's project. She was the only artist on the label at the time, so all of the resources went towards her. It is interesting that the debut had 5 singles and Lover had 4. 1989 had like 7. Red also had like 7. I'm just saying, you can kind of tell the quality of the album by how many singles it had. Then we go on to the Fearless era, and I will say that this was a very well executed era, and it definitely catapulted her into a different level of stardom and respect and acclaim. This is thanks largely to her selection of the lead single, Love Story, which is one of her enduring hits. And again, captures so many of her tricks as a songwriter and her lovable quirks and characters as a narrator wanting to change the ending of a legendary text just because it didn't feel good to her and she wanted it to be happy instead. That kind of says a lot about who she was at this point in her career. And I like the tradition that she falls into on this album that lasts, I think, until Red, which is she starts with a kind of upbeat banger-ish song and she follows that up with the second single, something that is a little bit more gravity. It has more weight, it's more serious. It holds a little bit more artistic excellence, shall we say. So bangers and well-written ballads really are the 2 poles of her career. Again, something that she ping-pongs back and forth between. So the example of this is Love Story and then White Horse for Fearless. So White Horse followed up Love Story as a little bit taking itself more seriously, more reflective, more inward, more emotional, kind of confessional songwriting that she became known for. Progression goes Love Story, White Horse, You Belong With Me, 15, and Fearless. And on the whole, I really don't have many complaints about this, but there are just a few little quibbles that I have. I probably would have pushed Fearless as a proper single with a real video. There's a really cinematic element to this song that kind of encapsulates everything that Fearless is about and everything about who she was as an artist at that time. And I feel like I just wanted to see her in a storm in her best dress, Fearless. Like, was that too much to ask for? I didn't want a tour video. This is something that you're gonna hear me complain about over and over again. Tour videos are a waste of time, a waste of resources to me. I understand that they're easy and simple to accomplish, but like, come on, girl. We wanna have a little bit more of a legacy, especially when we have music videos like 15 that are so unbelievably garbage. It would have been really good to have had a serve of a visual from Fearless as well. And you know, this is one of her albums that had incredible longevity. It sold really well and charted for a really long time. So I'm thinking that a really good music video for Fearless and a bit more of a push for it to be a single could have extended it even longer, who knows? And similarly, in that vein, I would have wrapped up the whole Fearless album cycle with one final single, making it 6 singles in total, and my final single would be Forever and Always. Now, she toyed with the idea, she floated the idea of doing Forever and Always as a single. I think she was like market testing this song and You're Not Sorry as well by performing them on different award shows and kind of selectively pushing them here and there. But for me, Forever and Always would have added a kind of rage, anger, a very primal fury to the single succession that kind of went along. It was very light, easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl before she made the decision to include songs like Forever and Always and Tell Me Why on the album. And I feel like had she just given us Forever and Always as a single, it would have kind of renegotiated the public image of her as this like whiny, kind of la-di-da, non-serious teen artist. Forever and Always would have given us all that Hayley Williams Paramore vibe that we wanted at the time and didn't receive, publicly at least. All right, on to Speak Now, and this is a really tricky album to discuss in terms of singles because there wasn't a hit song on this record, baby. That's just, it wasn't the purpose of this song. This was a legacy cementing artistic experiment. It was a very brave risk to take when she hadn't already cemented her legacy as a hit maker. She really only had like 2 massive hits under her belt with Love Story and You Belong With Me. You know what? She forfeited her ability to get a radio single on this record and instead chose to prove that she was an artist first and foremost. And in hindsight, that was an excellent, excellent decision. So I feel like with the single selection for this record, she kind of went for the highlights reel, like the best of the different emotions that came across on the album. So the singles that we got were Mine, Back to December, Mean, The Story of Us, Sparks Fly, and Ours. And I think that in general, those are pretty representative of what the album is about. This was also quite a long album cycle, which had more singles than Fearless, which didn't really make sense to me because this wasn't a single-driven record, but I suppose that because she didn't get that one big hit, she kind of had to just keep going and trying new things over and over and over again. Her biggest chance at a radio hit on Speak Now was with Mean, and that came just a little bit too late in the cycle. And I have to say that the first 2 singles off of Speak Now were absolute bangers. Whether or not they did numbers, I mean, Mine was the perfect introduction to Speak Now. It was absolutely a bridge between Fearless and the new songwriting she was introducing, the drawer of her things at his place. It was a little bit more mature. It was a little bit more adult. And then Back to December introduced this whole new element to her confessional songwriting, which was actually admitting when she has done something wrong. And I know it's hard to believe, but she hadn't actually done that before this song came out. And it was a critique that she got over and over and over again, which she completely dispelled by putting this song out. I think also that she kind of fumbled the bag with the visuals for this era. Apart from Mine, everything else was just a little bit bland. I don't know how to describe it, but like the color palette was just like not it, which was weird because I think that the Speak Now album booklet shoot is very pretty. It's very fitting for what was going on at the time, and yet the music videos are just kind of drab. The video I probably like the best, other than Mine, is the Sparks Fly music video, which is a tour video, and I only like it because of that fucking gold dress, which continues to like send me into another dimension whenever I think about it. In this dream scenario where I can pick whatever the singles are, instead of the 4th single after Mean being The Story of Us, I would have instead gone for Enchanted or Haunted. Haunted because I think with The Story of Us, she was trying to pursue that like pop punk market that was super popular at the time, and Haunted was kind of a more dramatic version of that song. And Enchanted, I mean, deserved a visual, first of all. And if we know anything about Enchanted, it is that it has popped off and had this resurgence despite never having been a favorite of the general public, performed on any, like television show, or even had a music video. It still found its way to the masses and has become viral and really popular. So I think that had we had that as a single back then, who knows what kind of power and what kind of numbers Enchanted would have done in this day and age. I do, however, like that she ended the era with Ours. I really like that song. The video is kind of whatever to me, but the live performances that she did of Ours on TV were so cute and so beautiful, and really kind of got at that sitting in your living room having someone confess something to you vibe that I love so much about Speak Now as an album in general. Red, the opportunities were endless with this album, as you know, but overall, I think that this was a almost near perfectly executed album campaign. I have a few quibbles with how many ballads were released as singles, but otherwise I was very happy with what we received. So she threw us for a loop and introduced her new hyperpop sound with We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. But as I mentioned before, that pattern of releasing a banger and then a slower tune, she then gave us Begin Again, which assured us that she was going to be delivering the fucking sad juice on the album that we all, have signed up for and waited in line for at concerts. And this was also a really, really long album campaign. I think this might have been one of the longest ones. I'm not 100% sure. I think it had 7 singles, which is a lot. And the last single ended up coming out like mere months before Shake It Off was released. So she stretched this and milked this for all it was worth. And like I said, given the breadth of work that was on this record, it was totally deserved. So the single progression goes, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, Begin Again, I Knew You Were Trouble, 22, Red, Everything Has Changed, and The Last Time. That's the order that the singles came out. And if I could go back and do something different, I would probably replace Everything Has Changed with Holy Ground, because we all know that Holy Ground is the fucking undiscovered supermodel of the entire discography. It is rousing. She is the Grand Supreme, and we must do nothing but bow down to her and praise her and worship her for all she has delivered to us. And she never got that opportunity because she was never a single. And I feel like there was huge visual opportunity for this song as well, Spinning Like a Girl in a Brand New Dress. I can just really picture the Kennedy-esque vibe Taylor jamming out to this song and it being a beautiful visual. Also, if I could, I would probably shove State of Grace in there as an official single, maybe before Begin Again or between Begin Again and Trouble, just to kind of add another upbeat element to this single choice, because I feel like one of the critiques that Red got was that it was too samey and boring and sad, and I feel like had we just thrown an upbeat number into the single lineup after 22, it would have kind of dispelled that vibe that Red was boring, which it certainly wasn't, as we all know. 1989, I wouldn't change a thing. To be quite honest, this is the closest she's ever come to perfect. In fact, it was perfect. My only quibbles are that New Romantics didn't get a proper video. I really didn't want that to have a tour video. The tour performance wasn't even that exciting. It wasn't like a moment. It was the second song in the set. It wasn't like, there wasn't a huge set piece. Like, there wasn't a great outfit. I didn't really get why that was the tour performance. I guess that she was just kind of like lazy and out of ideas by the time it came to New Romantics, but Out of the Woods got the full treatment, and I really think that it should have been the other way around. Out of the Woods had a really beautiful concert performance with a great outfit and the paper airplanes on the sticks, so I think that that could have been a really good tour video, and New Romantics deserved like an actual visual, especially given how praised that song was by critics. Like, she missed out an opportunity to kind of capitalize on the fact that this was one of her best songs, and she could have emphasized that it was a bonus song, it wasn't even on the standard edition, but you know, I digress. This is a very small quibble. I also would have preferred it if Style had gotten a bigger push. I think it's pretty insane that Bad Blood went #1 and Style didn't. Like, just think about that for a second. Bad Blood is like, I think Bad Blood goes off, but Style is excellent. It's one of her best songs ever, 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 and Bad Blood simply isn't even in like the top 20. So I don't really understand why Style wasn't pushed as hard. I believe there was, I mean, I know why, I'm not gonna get into it, but I know why Style didn't get a big push at the time. I just wish that it had, because look, she's invested so many resources into the Bad Blood music video, that fucking dramatic ass unveiling of who was gonna be in it every single week in the music video. Like, she really gave it her all to promote that song, and I wish that she'd done that for Style, and capitalized on the fact that she wrote a fucking song about Harry Styles and had the balls to call it Style. Like, hello, excellence, knocking at your door, answer the phone. Reputation, listen. This is a crisis, okay? This is a crisis. Reputation was a mismanaged album, and had it been in the right hands, my hands, it would have been appreciated and discovered as the gem that it is, and the Reputation stands wouldn't have to pretend like they were oppressed until the end of time, acting like no one has ever heard of the album before and nobody knows what it's really about. We get it, it's a love story, like everybody fucking knows, shut up. But I think that she would have just met a lot less resistance had she been more straightforward about what the album was about from the start. And what really was the Achilles heel of this record was the fact that she refused to do interviews or to speak publicly about it other than through the music, basically. So if she was going to do that, then the choice of singles and how the singles told a story had to be very good and very concise and tell the story very well, because she wasn't speaking to the press and she wasn't giving herself the opportunity to clarify any of the misconceptions going around. I understand the premise that there will be no further explanation, there will just be Reputation. I get it, I went to the secret session, like I understand the vibe. I just think that it could have been executed different. Look What You Made Me Do was obviously excellent. Show-stopping, never been done before, a moment of cultural hegemony that we will never see ever again, probably because our attention spans are so fragmented now with social media. But Look What You Made Me Do had the shocking, gossipy, juicy return to the spotlight, doing something different, being vindictive, getting one over on her enemies. Like, we did that. We had it done. Following up very shortly after should have been an expose of the vulnerable side of the album, to show people, kind of like what she did with We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together and Begin Again, that there was another layer to the album, that it wasn't all going to be Trapped Taylor, because nobody wanted that. And I would, you know, venture a guess that still nobody wants that. So I would have suggested that she followed it up with Delicate, which was, you know, the sleeper hit of the album, probably the most successful and enduring hit from the entire record, that could have gone the extra mile had it just been pushed out a little bit sooner, I think. And instead of doing Delicate second, you know what we got? Ready For It. Don't get me wrong, Ready For It is a banger, it slaps, it's a great opener to the album. I love the throat clearing. Do I think that it should have been the next taste of the record after this like kind of insane buildup? No, I don't think so. I think it kind of extrapolates on what Look What You Made Me Do was doing, and it only gets worse with Endgame. Like, Look What You Made Me Do, Ready For It, and Endgame like are three sides of the same coin. If a coin could have three sides, it would be those three songs. They are all kind of about similar things. They sound kind of similar sonically. It's a similar palette. Like there wasn't enough differentiation between the three of them to win over people who were unconvinced by the first single. And that is the whole problem with it. Plus, Ready For It, when it was rolled out as a single, it was literally teased in a college football ad. That's the first time we heard Ready For It, and it came out of nowhere, which was so embarrassing to me. Like all of this hype, like she literally stopped the world for a moment with Look What You Made Me Do, and then the next thing was like a slow fart. Like what was the point of that? I just don't understand why she would sabotage herself like that. And the Ready For It music video sucked. Let's be honest, okay? She premiered it for me before it came out to the public at the secret session, and I sat there and I kept my mouth shut. I said nothing. I was like, that's so interesting. Silence, cricket, because it sucked. Getaway Car was a truly missed opportunity for a great visual moment and also a kind of continuation of the sonic themes that we heard on 1989. It was similar enough to 1989 sonically, but different enough lyrically that it could have, you know, endeared people to Reputation a little bit sooner than Ready For It or Endgame would have. So I probably would have structured it as follows. Look What You Made Me Do, Delicate, Getaway Car, maybe Ready For It or Endgame, perhaps. Maybe I'll let them squeeze through. But ultimately, finishing off the record, I would have done Call It What You Want or Dress. Now listen, Dress is probably just a personal affection that I have, but I feel like that would have been a very solid visual moment. I'm thinking of the I Don't Want to Live Forever music video. Like that is the kind of energy and vibe I wanted to see for Dress. I remember I read a review, I think it might have been the New York Times or Pitchfork, that said that Dress was a panting, shuddering highlight from Reputation, and I totally agree. It is her sexiest song that doesn't sound like it's trying to be sexy, and I feel like the vibe that Reputation gave that turned people off was that she was trying too hard, and Dress felt much more effortless and natural and subdued to me, but still shocking in a way. Like So It Goes, but a little bit better in my opinion. So I would have had Dress as the concluding single to Reputation, but who am I to say? Okay, Lover, listen, I'm just like never mentally prepared to discuss Lover. Like it upsets me and it triggers me. Honestly, it triggers me. And I'm not being hyperbolic, like it actually does something to my brain that I don't like, that upsets me for my whole day. Like this will ruin my day to talk about Lover, but I'm gonna do it. Everything about the rollout of this era was just a fucking mess. Like I don't know what Taylor was doing. It was extremely juvenile, like from the aesthetics and the pastel vibe to the single choice. It was all wrong. It was completely wrong. There was one single out of 4 singles that was good, and even still it got overshadowed by the trash that it was surrounded by. She was just so off her fucking game when she was trying to promote this shit to the public. She could barely even convince her fans that this was gonna be good. So how the fuck were the casual people supposed to get involved and play along, you know? It was so embarrassing how hard she tried to secure a #1 with both Me and You Need to Calm Down. They both had these very desperate last-ditch attempts to kind of push them to the top of the charts. With Me, it was like the endless rollout of merch, the sudden drop of like signed single covers, and with You Need to Calm Down, it was the Katy Perry edition and the drag queens all dressed up and the trying to score the woke points. Like it was a mess, and neither song reached #1 because they didn't organically connect with the public. Like when Taylor tries to get a hit, it never works because it's not authentic. And because Taylor is like quite a, shall we say, put together instead of calculated person, when she leans too far into that calculation side of her personality, it comes across as really inauthentic and not genuine. And I feel like that really is what ultimately rubs people the wrong way about Taylor. Both of those songs, Me and You Need to Calm Down, are just devoid of everything that makes Taylor Swift an excellent artist. Like there's no clever songwriting, the production is grating and annoying. I can't get into it. They suck so bad. And let us not forget that this rollout was fucking eons long as well. Like from, what was it, April or March until like June or July, like all we had were these 2 bullshit songs. Like neither of them were good. I tried to pretend to like You Need to Calm Down at the time, and I suppose if you like drugged me and blindfolded me and played it, I would maybe think that it was okay. But Me, under no circumstances, under no, like you literally couldn't pay me to say that that song was good. So yeah, I mean, Lover is the only good single. I mean, The Man was another like ham-fisted attempt at being woke, and like Taylor grossly miscalculating how much people care about her personal, unrelatable struggles. Taylor has plenty of like reasons to be jaded about being a woman in the industry, but like The Man was just not the way to go about doing it. I mean, no one really feels bad for you if you're not being treated like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, most people don't even get to your level anyway. So finding the energy to sympathize with you not being able to go on a yacht and like live your life and spend your money, it's kind of hard to find, you know? Like, there are better examples of prejudices that she has faced or gendered experiences that weren't good for her, like her sexual assault trial. Those are very easy to sympathize with. This felt forced and like a gotcha moment, you know, like a woke card that she played. And I think that that is why it didn't land, because it wasn't authentic, and it was honestly a struggle that was unrelatable to 99% of the population. First of all, and last of all, and forever of all, Cruel Summer should have been the lead single off of Lover. Period, point blank, end of story. I will not be taking feedback from this at any point, at any time. Go fight with the wall if you don't agree with me. It was universally loved and continues to be one of her best streamers from this album. And I just cannot believe that she sat on something like that for months and didn't think to like push that as the lead single. She sat there and she wrote, "I promise that you'll never find another like me, he, hoo, and said, this is the first single. This is the big hit. This is my next Shake It Off. When she literally had I'm drunk in the back of the car and I cried like a baby coming home from the bar, sitting in her back pocket, rotting, dying, begging to be released from the cage. I actually do think she intended for Cruel Summer to be a single. I actually thought that she would push it alongside her Glastonbury appearance and all of her festivals, Loverfest East, Loverfest West. I think there was a grand plan for Cruel Summer to have that moment, but it got completely destroyed by COVID. I mean, you cannot put out a song that starts with Fever Dream High in the middle of a global pandemic. I mean, it's not feasible. So I understand why it got scrapped, but I can't understand why it was sat on and slept on in the first place. It makes no sense. If there was a better song that was pushed than Cruel Summer, I would understand, or even a song that like, I don't know, was slightly better. If she put Death by a Thousand Cuts out, or even London Boy, or I Think He Knows out before Cruel Summer, I would have been like, should have done Cruel Summer, but fine, I get it. When it's for me, it's like that song shouldn't even have been on the album. It shouldn't have come out of her brain. It shouldn't have left her mouth. Like, nobody should have told her that it was good. Every single person who like quality controlled that and let it go through and told her that it was good, you're going to hell because you lied, and liars go to hell. I would have cut The Man, You Need to Calm Down, and Me from the album entirely, and I probably would have lent into Lover being fun and not serious. So I feel like she tried to like make Me something serious a little bit when she was explaining what it was about, and that didn't work. And then she tried to be an activist with You Need to Calm Down, which was very forced. So I feel like I would have just lent straight into the happy-go-lucky part of Lover and maybe done a little bit of the Death by a Thousand Cuts to wrap up the era to show that she was still capable of writing a breakup song. So this is the order that I would have had. Cruel Summer, first single. Lover, second single. London Boy, third single. I Think He Knows, fourth single. Round it all out with Death by a Thousand Cuts, have a very elaborate music video. I think that these songs show the happiness and the lightness of the album while still delivering actual good music. Okay, unlike everything fucking else on this record. Sorry. Well, I think that I've ranted and raved for long enough. My throat hurts from yelling at you for like half an hour. If you like this video, remember to subscribe, like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think should have been singles. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Remember, like, if you're here to defend me or you need to calm down, like, I don't want to hear it, I will block you. Goodbye, essentially. Okay, see you in the next one, Swifties.